Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled People Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. My entitled sister stole my iPhone. Big mistake. After that, harass me about my gardens? Okay, we can do this the hard way. And after that, am I the jerk because I won't cook for my roommates? Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to take anyone's iPhone. I'd go with the Android instead, bruh. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Entitled sister stole my iPhone. Big mistake. So this just happened this morning. I'm 17, male, and my sister, who's 19, is going to a concert with her boyfriend in August. She asked our parents to buy plane tickets for them, but they refused because they already gave her a lot of money every month that she wastes. For my birthday, they got me an iPhone 13 Pro. She got angry and called them jerks for refusing to buy the plane tickets for her while giving me an expensive gift. I told her the best thing our parents bought me before this iPhone was a book that I didn't even want, and they always forgot about my birthday, even if I talked about it for months before. I reminded her that she always got anything that she asked for, regardless if it was her birthday. Expensive clothes, toys, phones, perfume, makeup, and even a car for her 16th birthday. And they still give her a monthly allowance, which they have never gave me. She picked up the box and left. I sat there in shock because I couldn't believe what she was doing. My parents kept yelling at her to come back, but she ignored them and just drove away. I've been calling and texting her nonstop to give me the phone back. She texted back, telling me to keep dreaming, and blocked my number. I informed my parents I was going to call the cops on her, but they told me not to do it because they'll get me a new one. The only reason they started treating me nicely and getting me a birthday gift is because after she left for college, they found out they had another kid in the house that they're supposed to care for and love. Even the phone I currently have, I bought after working all summer last year because they always refused to buy me one no matter how cheap it was. My sister got one when she was 11. Even though my parents didn't like what she did, they still looked for reasons to excuse her behavior, like saying that she was probably just stressed after her exams and how she's been looking forward to going to this concert. They even started blaming themselves for refusing to buy the plane tickets in the first place. I really want to call the cops on her despite their refusal, because who says she isn't going to steal from me in the future? Not the jerk. Your sister and your parents need a real wake-up call. Call the cops. They all deserve it. OP is 17. His parents bought the phone and presumably pay the monthly bill, so I'd think that legally the phone belongs to his parents, so they would be the ones who could really press charges against the sister for stealing the phone. I'm not a lawyer though. Gifts are considered the property of the receiver no matter who bought it. My son's phone was stolen by a now former friend of his. He called the cops. They got it back. You wouldn't be the jerk, but you need to play the long game here. If your sister gets a theft charge against her, it might, depending on circumstances, jeopardize her college place, and she'll end up back at home with you where you have to deal with her every day. Plus, you'll have to deal with the fallout from your parents. Instead, I'd wait until your parents get you a new phone, and then call the phone company and get the one she stole locked, so it's absolutely no use to her. Well, what would you do in this situation? Would you call the cops on your sister or not? Please let us know. A thief is a thief. I would have been called the cops, bruh. Harass me about my gardens? Okay, we can do this the hard way. My house is surrounded by two gardens, one in the front facing the street and one in the back bordering my neighbor's gardens. When my parents and grandparents moved into our house 26 years ago, they planted a thick hedge around the entire property. They also installed a rosa arch over the pathway to our front door, and my grandfather was always busy keeping up the garden, planting, weeding, keeping everything very tidy. My grandfather passed in 2002, and after that, the garden was neglected for a few years as my parents were still working and my brother and I were in university and school. But then, around 2005, my mom read something that we should plant stuff to help the bees, and she took over the gardens, planting lilac, rhododendron, roses, and various berries. Later, we decided to also install raised garden beds with various kitchen herbs. My mom is now over 70 years old and has officially given the house over to my brother and I, so that we won't be taxed on inheriting it when she passes. Since then, I've been sporadically taking care of the gardens. I like them in their wild shape with all the birds, bees, bumblebees, and butterflies flying around. In autumn, we get hedgehogs, and we've been visited by a fox recently, which sent my cats into a panic. Then recently, we received a letter from the city stating that our garden was interfering with the safety of the street because the hedge was overgrowing the pavement and it contained poisonous berries, which were a danger to people walking by. Now, my brother trims the hedge every month to make sure nothing is overgrowing the pavement in any way. And while the berries are poisonous, to get to them, you'd have to be quite resilient because they're surrounded by thorns. They are also known to be an ideal food for some local birds. So, I contacted our local Nature Conservation Association and asked if they would like to have a look at our gardens and maybe tell us if we could improve anything to make them even more nature-friendly. They came, looked around, and then told us they rarely see gardens so in touch with nature. They approved our garden as especially nature-friendly and contacted the city to tell them that from their point of view, any changes would be considered unfriendly to nature, and since our city prides itself with once being one of the green capitals in our country, they had to budge. Don't mess with my gardens. There was a guy in one of the suburbs near me that had a similar approach. He let all the native plants grow wild around his house because he liked living near nature. His neighbors complained to the local council that it was unsightly and a fire hazard. The council sent him notices to trim it back and clean it up. He refused them all. The council set a date that they would come and remove all trees, plants, and shrubs and charge him for the cost involved. He contacted a local environmental agency that came and inspected his property, and they found 2 species of endangered birds had nested there. One was assumed extinct. After that, there was nothing they could do, as the birds were protected by law. Am I the jerk because I won't cook for my roommates? About 5 months ago, I struck an agreement with my roommates. My husband and I live with 2 other people, and we have a pretty small fridge, so there was never any room for anything in it, because there were always 2 households worth of ingredients stocked in it. Plus, it was getting pretty annoying having 2 sets of people fight, not really, over the same kitchen every day when it was time to cook dinner. So I proposed a deal. Everyone contribute into a communal dinner budget, and I would cook dinner for all 4 of us every day. I'm great at economizing and cooking on a low budget, and not to toot my own horn or anything, but cooking is a huge hobby of mine, so I feel confident saying I'm not too shabby at that either. I like to cook a wide range of foods, which is something my husband loves. For example, Japanese-style ramen, Chinese braised pork over rice, Moroccan curry, shakshuka, pasta salad, grilled fish with roasted vegetables, and authentic Italian carbonara are all things that might show up on the dinner table when I cook. Things went well for a while, but after a couple of months, our roommates started making requests. That's fine. Sometimes I would even ask for ideas on what to cook, but then the restrictions started and never stopped adding up. Here's the list of things they don't want me to use at all. No pasta, no curry, no rosemary, thyme, oregano, no provincial herbs, olives, no Asian noodles, no soy sauce, no oyster sauce, peanut-based sauces, chickpeas, no lamb, pesto, basmati rice, no pork belly, sun-dried tomatoes, Szechuan peppers, no balsamic, no couscous, no shrimp, no fennel, no sugar, and must be low salt. I'm pretty sure there are plenty that I forgot, but they would definitely be mentioned if I used. I like to be adventurous when I cook, and I just got really tired of being so limited. It honestly felt like I was being handed a new restriction every other day after a while. So I stopped cooking for them and went back to only cooking for my husband and I. But my roommates are pretty upset that I'm not cooking anymore. They've started hinting that they would like me to cook for them again, and I just say no. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. You're not a restaurant. They can go back to eating cheese out of a tube. I will move in, eat all of your food, try all of your experiments, and never complain. Not the jerk. Am I the jerk for not paying half towards my dog's puppy's vet bill and expenses? I know this sounds insane, but it's been causing grief for weeks. I moved back home a few years ago to take over my parents' hobby farm. My parents asked I continue to keep sheep and goat herds. Animals that try to eat our goats are common, so we've always had livestock guard dogs there. I have 2. They're very well trained and socialized, but I don't allow dogs I don't know on the farm unless I'm there the entire time. The setup is like an H. One side is the sheep pastures and barn. The other side is goats. In the middle is a gigantic fenced-in area for the dogs where their toys, feeders, water troughs, wading pools, and dog sheds are. They can go from one pasture to the other. The gate to the dog area faces the back of the house. It was a regular garden gate, but I fixed it so wild animals couldn't climb over the top of it. The only space is about an 8-inch gap between the top of the gate and the gate post to move the latch easily. Too small for my dogs to squeeze through, and nothing has gone through there before. One of my dogs is a male and not neutered for reasons relating to the community, and us all knowing where our helpers come from and are going to, since these doggos perform a specific function in a farming community. Other dog is an older female and spayed. My job requires me to travel once in a while. I had a week trip about 4 months ago. My girlfriend invited her friend Taylor to come stay with her while I was gone. Before Taylor arrived, she asked us if there was a room she could put her dog's crate in. I told her not to bring her dog since I'd be gone. She arrives, she has her dog. In heat. My girlfriend told her she could bring her. I offered to pay for her dog to go to a local kennel since I'd be gone, but my girlfriend and Taylor said I was controlling. I told them I just didn't want to leave room for issues. Day before I have to leave, Taylor let her dog out unsupervised, and I caught her dog trying to squeeze through the gap of the gate. Got her dog, brought her back in, told her she either needs to keep her dog on a leash and supervised at all times when outside, or she goes home now. My girlfriend and I fought about it again, and I had to leave for my work trip before it was resolved. I asked my cousin while I was gone. He said he and his wife saw the dog on the leash. Taylor left the day I got home. Weeks later, her dog had puppies. Girlfriend admitted that they only put Taylor's dog on the leash when my cousin was over and let her run around the rest of the time. Her dog kept getting into the dog yard with my boy, and they stopped her if they saw her. Taylor wants me to pay half of the vet bills and puppy expenses until they're homed. She's railing about me to my girlfriend about me not having my dog neutered. I refuse to pay. My dogs are contained, and they stayed where they are supposed to be, and I told Taylor to not bring her dog to begin with. She and my girlfriend can cover the expenses since they went behind my back. Am I in the wrong here? Not the jerk. She brought her non-spayed dog to a house with a non-neutered male dog while her dog was in heat. It takes a special kind of stupid to let a dog in heat run around unsupervised, and you tried to keep it from happening. People like this give me tension headaches. Not the jerk. And why is she getting at you for not having your working dog neutered when her pet dog is also not spayed? This is her own fault. You told her not to bring her dog, and she did anyway, knowing her own dog was in heat. She's a moron. Edit. Your girlfriend is also the jerk and an idiot, because she definitely should have known this would happen and went behind your back on it anyway. Not the jerk. That friend knew exactly what she was doing and very likely wanted her dog to have puppies for the money she would get from them. You owe her nothing. You told her not to bring the dog, and she ignored you. When you offered a compromise of leashed and supervised all the time or leave, she did neither and lied. She made her bed, she can lie in it. Also, consider getting a new girlfriend while you're at it. Am I the jerk for leaving the house while my girlfriend is still sleeping? So I made plans for us to get up, go work at a coffee shop, then meet my family for lunch, and then go to the market. Very nice day. My girlfriend likes to sleep in, and I get up super early, 5:30 a.m. to 6 a.m. I told her I wanted to leave early, like 7 a.m., because I had a ton of work to do before seeing my family. She expressed how exhausted and tired she was yesterday. So this morning, when I woke up at 6, considering we went to bed at 11:30 p.m., I didn't wake her up and let her sleep. I got ready to leave and went to give her a kiss goodbye while telling her, "Take all the time you need. Meet me at the coffee shop. I don't want to rush you. I know you're tired." She all of a sudden gets all cold with me, saying, "OMG, why didn't you wake me up? I thought we were going together." I expressed that I wanted to let her sleep because I knew how tired she was and that she can just meet me later. Later being an hour later so she can get ready while I get a head start on my work. I finally leave the house and she texts me basically saying how she doesn't understand why I was able to wake her up to say goodbye but not able to wake her up when I woke up. She later starts texting me, arguing, saying that it isn't fair that we made plans and I'm going off on my own without her. All I wanted to do was let her sleep in more because I knew how tired she was. She starts with a name calling, etc. And I told her, instead of arguing with me, since you're already up, get ready and come over. The coffee place is 10 minutes away from our house. She says she doesn't want to drive there and pay for parking and pay for gas. I don't know if she expected me to drive back to pick her up. I really think she's being a baby. My solution would be to just get in your car, drive over. It's not that difficult. I apologized for not waking her up, but I genuinely just wanted her to sleep. She finally basically cancels all our daily plans and says, "Have a nice day." I'm sitting in the coffee shop alone now. It's been 2 hours. She isn't coming. So, am I the jerk for leaving while she was still asleep? You're the jerk. You made plans with her and decided without asking her she could just meet you. I get you think it's being sweet letting someone get more sleep, but I'll let you in on a secret. Better ask than to assume. Women like communication. I think your gesture of letting her take her time is nice, but she wanted that choice in her court, not yours. Next time, wake her up, then ask, and if anything, at least you tried. Calling her a baby because she's frustrated with how you went about something isn't right. Honestly, I'd be pressed, mostly knowing you have to pay for parking and how insane gas prices are, that my partner would leave me and want me to drive to meet them. Most women don't feel good when their partner leaves them behind. You're the jerk, dude. Should have asked her if she wanted to sleep in. You guys made plans and you changed them without asking. I know you had good intentions, but you should have asked her if she wanted to sleep in and meet you later. You're the jerk. Gas prices are expensive, and it's not surprising she would want to take one trip instead of two. You can't just take gas for granted like that. If you had the idea of waking up earlier and her sleeping in, you should have discussed it with her the night before. Instead, you woke her up and stressed her out, which defeated the whole purpose. You're the jerk. Major red flags on your part, and you sound like a real creep. I know exactly how your girlfriend feels, and I hope she leaves you. Do you have any clue how infuriating it is when someone changes plans without even asking if you're okay with it first? And the way you talk about wanting to let her sleep in, you really think you're some sort of a hero, don't you? The bar literally couldn't be set any lower than it already is for you dudes, and you still act like this? Unbelievable. I've accepted that I'll probably be single forever because it's nearly impossible to find a decent guy these days. She's single? Gee, I wonder why. Hey Karen, haven't we read a story similar to this where the boyfriend got mad that his girlfriend didn't wake him up when she got up? We sure have, and everyone told her to leave him because it's a major red flag and she's not his mama and shouldn't have to wake him up. Don't you just love Reddit? A fiasco with pancakes. This happened at a restaurant a few years ago. We'll just call it Cracker Barrel. So on a busy Sunday afternoon, the church crowd was slowly winding down and we were nearing our dinner rush. This particular restaurant, you can order breakfast all day. At around 3 p.m., 2 ladies were seated in my section and I greeted them promptly. Both ordered drinks and their food as well at the same time. Guest 1 ordered Mama's pancake breakfast with scrambled eggs and cheese with extra crispy bacon. Guest 2 ordered the Grandma's sampler with scrambled eggs and cheese with extra crispy sausage, bacon, and ham. I put their order in exactly as they ordered it and told the cooks how they said they wanted to see no pink anywhere. Cooks make the food. I expedite and bring out their meal. Everything looks the way they ordered it: charcoal, bacon, sausage, and ham. I set the food down and they immediately start running me. Never once did they ask for everything at the same time, even after I asked, "Is there anything else I can get for you?" Every time I brought back something like hot sauce, ketchup, or napkins, they always needed something else. After 5 minutes of back and forth, they said everything was fine and I went and did other duties. They hadn't touched their food until I had everything for them they had me run around for. A few minutes later, my manager on duty comes to me and asks me about table 231. He says that they are complaining their eggs are cold and the food is burned. I explained they said everything looked fine and their eggs wouldn't have been cold if they had asked me for extra napkins, hot sauce, ketchup, and extra butter and jelly on one trip instead of 6. He goes back and forth with them and they are adamant they are not paying for the eggs or bacon and are only paying for the pancakes. Cue malicious compliance. The Grandma's sampler comes with 2 pancakes, a sampler of meat, eggs, and a side of your choice for $9.99. 2 a la carte pancakes are $7.99, so $2 off for all you math geniuses out there. Mama's pancake breakfast comes with 3 pancakes, eggs, and your choice of meat for $7.99. 3 a la carte pancakes are $9.99, which is obviously $2 more than the breakfast. Manager on duty hands the receipts to each lady and both stop him before he can walk away. Guest 2 is upset she's paying $2 less than what her breakfast would have cost and she felt that wasn't a good enough discount. Guest 1 is upset because her meal is now more than what it was before. The only thing my boss kept saying to both of them was, "You asked to only pay for the pancakes and that's what I charged you for." And then he walked away. They paid up front, complaining the entire time at the cash register and making a scene, threatened to call corporate, and said they will be returning to speak to someone higher than my manager on duty. Manager on duty and I went in the back and kept laughing. You don't get many wins in the service industry, but this one will always be a memorable one. Am I the jerk for declining to crochet a sweater for my cousin? I, 38 female, crocheted myself a cardigan recently that I really like and I wear it often. I went to visit a cousin who's 42 and her daughter who's 18 with my mother who's 71, and I wore the cardigan. Cousin's daughter complimented me on it and abruptly asked me to make one for her. I explained it took me about 40 hours to make mine. It's fine yarn and pretty long, and that I could send her the tutorial I learned it from. She starts to tear up a bit and sniffles while telling me, "That's not fair. You know I don't know how to do that kind of stuff." I try to gently explain that the tutorial is really good at showing and teaching how. She's still looking pouty. Cousin pipes up at this point, saying it would be nice if I could just make her one, that she's too busy to spend all that time on a sweater because she works. This hit a nerve with me because my cousin often makes passive-aggressive comments about how I don't work. I'm a stay-at-home mom, work-at-home mom to 3 kids under 8, and have a little home-based business doing tailoring and mending, some crafting, etc. She doesn't consider my work to be real work, acts like I must live a life of leisure. Previously, I had always bitten my tongue and changed the subject because I didn't want the drama, but I just let it out this time. I told her I do work, and I do it while caring for 3 kids. She laughed and said it hardly pays enough to be considered work. I lost my temper and told her my finances were none of her business and that she's out of her mind to think she can treat me so rudely while trying to demand hours and hours of my labor for free. Cousin starts crying at this point and the visit obviously ends. Afterwards, my mom tells me she's very disappointed in me for the language that I used and that I am partly to blame for wearing the sweater that started the argument and I wasn't polite. I flatly told her that's ridiculous. It's an article of clothing. It's meant to be worn. I have quite a few pieces of clothing that I've made myself. Should I stop wearing any of them in case entitled people decide they want me to make them all free clothes? Anyways, now my cousin and cousin's daughter are thinking I'm the jerk, and my mom thinks we're all jerks apparently. Am I the jerk? My time is valuable. It takes me 40 hours. My hourly rate is $30 plus yarn. This sweater is worth $1,250. Are you actually asking me to give you over $1,000? I haven't worked here in 10 years. Just for some context, I worked in retail at the same store for about 15 years. I was part of the management team. When we had our highest-ranked manager leave to explore other opportunities, she was a young single mother, and the retail management life doesn't afford you as much family time as you might think. Myself, along with the rest of our team, had to run the store on our own for a while we waited for her replacement to be trained in another store, which afforded the rest of us with even less family time. So by the time the new manager was able to start, me and the rest of our team were completely burnt out, which was not helped much by the fact that our new team member was a real Karen-type personality. She wouldn't do the work, but then would criticize our work for not being done the way she wanted it to be. As she was higher on the food chain, if she didn't like my work, I had to redo it. So 1 week into the new queen's reign of terror, I'd had enough. I was done rebuilding the same displays 15 times in a shift. So I walked into the cash office where I knew she would be sitting down on the phone with her friend for the 5th time in the 2 hours she had to be there. Handed in my resignation effective immediately, handed in my keys, and walked out. I never felt that free in my life. Fast forward to this past holiday season. I'm out doing some heavy Christmas shopping for the family. I run into a woman who I recognize as a regular customer who always came in when I was still working there. Also a Karen type. She was always that one customer that no one ever wanted to check out, so I often ended up being the one to check her out back in the day because I was really good at gritting my teeth behind a big smile, some sarcasm, and a can-do attitude. She walks up to me and says, "I see you're out of," some product that I didn't care to commit to memory, and asks if I will check the back, to which I reply, "I'm sorry, I don't work here." I'm clearly not in the company dress code as I'm wearing a winter coat for starters, but also sweatpants, snow boots, and a winter hat. So I figured that will be the end. Nope, she replied with, "You do too work here. I know you're just coming in or shopping on your day off, but it's your job to help the customers in this store. Now help me." I said, "Seriously, ma'am, I don't work here." To which she responds, "I know you do. You've checked me out before." I said, "Yes, I did work here, and I did check you out before 10 years ago, and I haven't worked here for 10 years now." As I'm walking away to move to another aisle, I hear her just whining about how horrible of an employee I am, and she's going to see to it that I'm fired. I brush it off and keep shopping. About the time I was starting to forget about the interaction completely, I turn a corner and see Amy, my former subordinate, who is the new head manager and a good friend of mine. Heading straight towards me, Karen's hands are flailing, still complaining that Amy has a horrible employee and she wants her fired now. When Amy sees who it is that Karen is complaining about, she couldn't hold back. She busts up laughing and says, "Ma'am, I can't fire her. She doesn't work here anymore. And even if she did, she would still be my boss." She then accuses Amy of lying to try and cover up her own ineptitude. She storms off, leaving a cart full of items behind. I took a few minutes to talk to Amy, and I even helped her put Karen's stuff back on the shelf when Amy was called to the back office. As I'm checking out, I can still hear Karen arguing with them that she knows I work here and she will have us all fired. They ended up having to pull out past employee files and show her my resignation letter dated 10 years earlier before she would finally go away. Last time I spoke to Amy, she said Karen hasn't been back since. Quit your job and raise my kid. My sister-in-law, brother's wife, is a real Karen. High maintenance and demanding to the extreme. She will demand things from my parents, to which they say no, and then she gets mad, refuses to talk to them, and takes it out on my brother until he calls up my parents to ask they apologize because it's making his life horrible. Years ago, when they had their first kid, my niece, my parents were elated at their first grandkid. Sister-in-law's mom isn't in the picture, so my mom was very attentive to sister-in-law, helping her shop for baby, being a supportive shoulder, even offering advice and insight into pregnancy, labor, and birth. Sister-in-law lavished in the attention and things were golden, until sister-in-law went back to work. I was at my parents' house visiting when the phone rings. Dad answers, listens for a few, and then simply says, "I'm not getting in the middle of them. Talk to your mother." And he hands the phone to my mom. She listens a bit and then says, "Well, I'm sorry, but I'm just not okay with her plan. I'm not going to apologize and I'm not quitting my job. That's the end of it." And she hangs up. Of course, I had to demand details. Sister-in-law was going back to her job and called my mom up a day or two prior to this to discuss childcare. She told my mom about the daycares she had checked out and how expensive they all were and what a struggle it was going to be. But then she had a brilliant idea. My mom should become a full-time nanny for niece. Of course, she would have to quit her job, but since she's only 5 years from retirement, it's not a big deal. My mom graciously informed her that while she loved watching niece, she was not going to quit her job. Cue a hissy fit. But the only other person who could do it is sister-in-law's 90-year-old grandma, but she could only watch niece at her house because she's 90 and she doesn't drive, and she has too many pets, 3 of which were sister-in-laws that she dumped on her. "Daycare is so expensive. Don't you want quality time with niece?" Mom suggested maybe sister-in-law find a cheaper daycare. No, Montessori daycares are the absolute best. Mom pointed out she's never even heard of that, so there's no way her childcare would be Montessori. Mom suggested sister-in-law go back to work part-time and then daycare would only have to be part-time and thus cheaper. No, if she wants to stay on track for her retirement goals, she needs to go back full-time. Mom ran out of advice and finally just said, "Well, and I think you're going to need to lower your standards or find another option because I'm not quitting my job and that's final." And she hung up on her. My mom was not happy at how hard I laughed. And of course, when I had my kid a few years later, I jokingly asked how close she was to retirement because I needed a nanny. She messed up. This one lady has been at the hotel before and became notorious because her kids were rowdy. I'm in the back office and I hear her check in at the front desk with the front desk attendant. She signs the registration card for the 2 queen rooms for 3 nights already, but asks how much a 2 queen suite is. He tells her it's $189 and $80 price difference per night. It's too much money for 3 nights, she says. She tells the front desk she'll take the suite for the first night, but move to the cheaper room tomorrow for the other 2 nights. Sure, that's no problem. Tomorrow morning, I'm working the shift, and I see her in the morning. I ask her if she will be moving to the cheaper room today or staying in the same room. She tells me she will stay in the suite room. Okay, no problem. The following morning, I'm working the shift again and I see her. Ask her the same question. She says she'll stay in the suite room. Sure, no problem. Not sure why she would have been insistent on moving if the price is too high since she took the room for all 3 nights, but okay. She checks out after the 3rd night with no problems. Well, except her kids threw a pool chair into the pool and stole our door padlock. She's already not in good graces with the hotel. A few days later, I'm in the back office and I answer a phone call. It's her. She's wondering why her bill is so high. I explained to her that while she was checking in, I was in the back office and heard the entire exchange. I explained how she verbally agreed to the rate change and wanted to move to the cheaper room for the 2nd and 3rd night. I tell her I'm the one who asked if she wanted to move, and she declined twice, thus locking the increased rate. She says, "The paper I signed has a different rate. You're scamming me. I'm not paying more than what I signed." Oh, I see where this is going. She thinks she can save money by doing this scam. I tell her I'm not reducing the rate. I heard her verbal agreement. I explain her verbal agreement with the rate change is enough. If she had a problem with the rate, she should have moved or not taken the suite room, and she should have seen her folio we provided under her door and inquired then before checking out. She wasn't buying it. It wasn't a pretty argument. She says, "I have a future reservation there. What can we do so this situation doesn't happen again?" Oh, heck no. I look up her reservation and I tell her, "What we can do is cancel your reservation because we're not renting to you anymore. You're banned." "You can't do that," she says. "Oh, yes, I can. I'm doing it right now. You're not welcome here anymore." I then hung up on her. A week later, I get a chargeback on my desk from her for the difference of rate. I explain the situation to the credit card company and win the case. She has yet to return. Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video. Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.